Milsurp Garage. All right, think how crazy this is. I'm sitting out here in the Milsurp Garage, playing around with the Remington Model 51, and I get a message from D. Cruitz right at that moment asking about disassembly. I did an obscure video, like a 2-minute long video, specifically for Shep on some disassembly trick, and then decided to just post it and make it public for everybody. And that was that weird obscure video that has no comments. That's where the comment came in on talking about disassembly. If I ever got it fully disassembled, it was a video on a trick to get the pin out. And I thought, yep, we're gonna do a disassembly video on this thing. This is a wacky disassembly. I love it. I actually love taking this thing apart and putting it back together just because of how unique it is. And Remington Model 51 leads you to believe this thing was from 1951, but it's much older. It's a John Pedersen design from 1918 to 1926. That's it. Very short life, not many made. This one is a 1925. And for D. Cruitz, who sent that message, if I ever got it fully apart, we're going to take it fully apart. So let's do it. We cleared it. Okay, that is the most important. Cleared it and take out the mag. Now, like typical, there's a pin that you have to punch through with the slide in the right spot. Typical for most pistols, but with this one, it's a little weird because the slide does lock because it has the grip safety. So, and if any of you don't know, there's also some weird stuff with this gun. A lot of people don't think it has a slide lockback. The slide lockback is really weird. You have to have the grip safety not pressed when the slide is all the way back. So the way I do it is you have to press it to move the slide. Then you have to be off of it. So I hook into the trigger guard and I pull it like that. And that's the way you could actually lock the slide open. And what's cool about that is now that if you depress the grip safety, the slide goes forward. So when you load it, you could just put a mag in and squeeze, and it automatically drops the slide. That is pretty cool. But for our purposes here, we just have to get it back far enough to get this pin out. And we can't just pull. We have to release first. But I kind of use the same kind of thing. You have to just get it right there and then push the pin from the opposite side. The only thing is, when you push the pin from the opposite side, it's not going to go far enough to come all the way out. Actually, I could use my trick. I think my trick was to keep a dowel on it. I'm trying to remember my own trick. I think my own trick was to hold a dowel against it and then move the slide back. I think that was the point of my whole video, and it's not working. So let's do it. Let's do it a different way. Let's see if we're not using my trick. Yeah, this could be a pain in the neck, right? Oof. I happen to know just exactly where to put the slide to push that pin out, so I don't have to worry about that. Now, there's tension on it when you get it this far. By the way, I forgot to tell you what tools. You want like a small dowel, a larger dowel. A tweezer doesn't hurt. And I use like a little needle oiler for this guy. So when you get the pin out to there, you're not going to be able to really pull it. You got to kind of take the tension off the slide. It's going to be shoving forward. So you just take the tension off. You give it a little wiggle back and forth as you pull, and you're going to get this pin out. Now, that's as far as you're going to go with like intuition. All you're going to do is get this pin out if you don't know the procedure. That's why it's kind of like, I feel like, yeah, I got to do a video on this, because, usually from this point, you're like, okay, so how do I get the slide off? You'd be struggling with the figure. Nobody would ever figure that this is a weird way to do it. I think when I did the video on this gun, and I was doing the disassembly, I think lightning struck the transformer right outside of my right outside the Milsurp Garage, and blew out the power. And I'm pretty sure the whole rest of the video was all done in the dark with flashlights and stuff. So I'm pretty sure this was the gun. So it does need, like an update. So you actually hold the slide back, right? You grab the barrel. That's why it's like kind of serrated here. Grab the barrel, and you just pull the whole top assembly off. You got to admit, that's pretty cool. You kind of feel like you break it every time you do that, but you're going to end up with the receiver, and you could do your cleaning and maintenance there. This is the part now that's going to show us some cool insides to this gun, like some cool function, some unique functionality, and disassembly that's pretty cool. So from this point, what we're going to do is, I'm going to get a little closer here. From this point, what we're going to do is, the barrel travels, there's like a barrel, a ring, and a spring. If you press the barrel, you see you could move the barrel up and down. If you press it up and move it a little to the side, it'll kind of like sit in a recess right here that gives you access to the rest of this without it pressing up against everything. And you see, here's that breech block that makes this gun so unique. I like to take like a small pointy dowel like this, and I could just lift up and over to get out this breech block. And this breech block, this is the part on this gun that actually broke when I first got it. I used 380 ammo that was a little too hot, and I broke this. And I had to buy a whole other gun, less the receiver, just for this one part. But I mean, at least I got, like, a spare mag out of it, because it came with a mag. But it was just a tough one. This is why I say use mild 380 with the 380 one. Even with the 32, I would use mild, because it can be chambered in both. Obviously, the 380 is going to beat it up a little bit more. You definitely don't want to go with, like, these self-defense, high-powered modern stuff, because this gun is 1918 to 26. I mean, 380 ammo was probably pretty mild back then. And you really want to stick with the mild stuff, because it's really hard to find this piece. And you can't use the one for, they're different. The 32 and the 380 are different. So that's the breech block out of there. Then you get in here, you have, this is why the tweezer comes in handy. You could take the spring off the firing pin here. Take that out. You could just tilt it and slide this right out of the barrel, but I like to do it more like like I'm a surgeon, like I'm a doctor. I like to feel like I'm doing surgery over here. So then you have the firing pin and the spring, and now you can kind of take the tension off the barrel again. You can hold up here and use your thumb, and you can let it ride back down over here. Now, there's like an interesting thing you got to do here. Is this part is the part that kind of messes everybody up. You can kind of set this ring. See how I set that up by lifting slightly? And I set this into like a little groove right here. It's kind of like the same groove that you move this to the side. So once again, it just sits, way down here like this. It's actually not in there anymore. Can't get it to sit all the way down anymore, but you lift it up just to get that ring into that recess, so it kind of like relieves the tension off of here. Now I use the larger dowel, and you want to be careful not to shoot parts all over the place, but I put it in here. I relax the tension a little bit here, and I lift up with the dowel. So I don't want to use metal in the barrel, so don't use a screwdriver or anything. Use something wood or plastic, and lift up. So you're lifting the barrel. The barrel is free to go through, but this ring is fitting in a recess right here. So it's just kind of like an odd angle and an odd thing to do to get it. Once you get it to like right there, you can stop. And now it's enough for the barrel to come out. But see, that's what you gotta watch. Because that ring will shoot out. You just have to make sure your fingers are keeping everything captured and you're in a position where you're not going to get pinched. And then you'll get this all out. It does squirrel out of there that way. You'll get it out. But, you have to finesse it a little bit. And then these parts, these all come apart. And that is the orientation. You have to remember the orientation being like this, where this kind of has a recess in there where it captures the spring. And I think the spring could go either way. But that's it. That's disassembled. That's the slide disassembled. Get in there and do whatever you need to do. It's kind of cool how there's like a little roller back here. You see that? That's interesting, right? So reassembly now. Let's get into reassembly. We get the spring in here, first of all. Make sure that that's not binding. And we get this ring. And we, with our thumb, shove this in here and set it right there. Again, you want to be careful that you're not going to fire this across the room. You get the barrel in there like that. You should have it kind of like in a position like this. And then it's just a question of finessing it where you get the barrel in position. Again, you can use the dowel. I need to lift up a little bit, so I'm lifting up with the dowel. And you want to get it just right where it drops in like that. That's your spot. It's interesting, this ring should really, like before it was sitting all the way back. Seems like it wants to hang out right over there for now, but I don't really mind. But I was thinking that it was going to move all the way back. But maybe that's the spot. I don't remember. Maybe that is how it was before. I guess it was. So again, up and to the side, remember? And that move is, you could grab here too. You could still use those splines that are up there. So once again, you're pushing with your thumb. You could help pull here, and you're pushing up. And when you do that, you're going to kind of set that into a little recess there that allows you room to work. So once again, firing pin. This is the orientation. It's easier. This doesn't actually fit if you try to go straight in. So you go barrel first and then back. And then the spring sits in the front of it. It doesn't look like it's the right way, but it all comes together when that doesn't look right, but it all comes together when the breech block comes into play. So the breech block now is going to go this way. Obviously, where the round goes up against the barrel. It's an easy way to look at it. And then it's definitely not this way. It's this way. You want to look at the underneath of it. You know what I mean? This is the coolest little thing, isn't it? Isn't this design just wild with this separate breech block with the extractor on it? That's just crazy. Pedersen, man. So you drop this. The spring goes, right in the firing pin where the firing pin hole is, obviously. So you hook it in there first. You make sure you got that nice and seated in there, right there. And then you just push back. It'll just fall right into place. That's it. That's where it sits. This is the motion that's wild, right? I love this thing. Now you could relax that. Now, a couple of interesting things. I'm just going to give this a little de-finger aciding. Okay, now, this gets a little weird here. So inside the receiver, you see this is popped up like that. That, if you press the grip safety, that will go down. But it's still spring loaded, but that's what releases that. So you got to remember that, so that when you put this on, so now you're just sliding this on like any other gun would. It kind of like holds up right there. Don't worry about that. You can kind of overcome that if you just give it a little shove. It'll overcome that. But when you reach this, you have to be careful, because that needs this to be depressed and your finger to hold it down just to get over it. Once you get over it, now you're good. Boom. That's it. You're done. Getting this pin in is a little easier. Again, pressing the grip safety, holding the slide right in the exact spot it needs to be in. And it has, if you notice, it has it's positioned where when you press down, it'll lock right into place if it's orientated right. That half moon part needs to be towards the bottom. And you push. And there you go. It locks right into place. Nice. And that, my friends, is disassembly and reassembly of the Remington Model 51. Y'all take care. I'll see you soon.